So now that we've gotten through some of the logistics, let's talk about what we're going to do today because we actually are going to do an activity. And to guide us in kind of getting started thinking about geomorphology, I'll bring us back to our definition, which was that geomorphology is all about landforms and processes. So, how then do we study those? Well, we know we can go outside and study those, but today and probably for the next couple of months, the conditions are not going to be so great for that. So, thankfully, we have lots of other ways that we can study them as well. And one of the things that geomorphologists are traditionally known to be really attached to are maps. If we want to learn about the nature of the land surface, maps are a great way as they present to us topographic information about the land surface. So this is an example of a map that we'll actually be using a little bit later on this semester, but I will point out for those of you that are going on the Death Valley trip that this is a portion of Death Valley that you're seeing here. Maps are great. They're paper based, and there's a lot that you need to do to be able to even know how to interpret them. And hopefully, you've taken the prerequisite for the course, which is Geology 102. If you haven't, it would probably be a really good idea to talk to me just to make sure that you're at a point where you're ready to be able to tackle it. About, I don't know, maybe 20% of our activities are going to use maps in some way. But the other piece of technology that we're going to use a lot, and it can even be really helpful for you, for those of you that are still struggling with how to even read maps, is Google Earth. And Google Earth presents imagery in a topographic format. So here you're looking at a place that I actually hiked to a number of years ago, Andrews Glacier, and this little lake called Andrews Tarn. This is up in the Rocky Mountains in Rocky Mountain National Park. What you can see off in the distance is the Great Divide or the Watershed Divide. I had a chance to hike up this little valley and then all the way up to Andrews Glacier right on the Continental Divide. What's great about Google Earth is that we can directly see this topographic information in an aerial context. So you can see the imagery, and it all, for the most part, should make sense to people, which is great. So we're going to be using Google Earth extensively. It's not perfect for everything, so we're going to be using topographic maps for other things, but Google Earth is really a great tool. And we'll have a chance to go out and look at the Google Earth file that we'll be using for today in just a second. Our first unit that I chose, maybe no surprise with the windshield warnings the way they are and the time of year that we're in, we're going to do glaciers to start. Glaciers are just really fun. We spend actually about a third of our course on glaciers, and the reason for that is that this part of the Midwest was extensively impacted by glaciers very recently. So the land surfaces that we have around us are directly impacted or indirectly impacted by glaciation. So glaciers is just a fun place for us to start. It's also a good time of year to be thinking about snow and ice. You're actually looking at a Google Earth image of glaciers in Alaska, a wonderful place to be experiencing glaciers. Everything that you're going to need for today's activity is out on Canvas. I'd highly recommend that you download those learning objectives. You have a handout that you can take a look at. Again, I'll bring printed copies. If you want to just look at the digital one today, that's fine. A lot of the terminology that you're going to need is right on that handout. Again, you didn't come with any prior knowledge or any lecture material for today, so the handout is going to be important. What you're going to be doing is classifying glaciers. You're going to learn about what is the definition of a glacier and how do we classify them from a morphology standpoint. We'll go out to Canvas and take a look at that in a second. Our activity today is going to be a Google Earth activity. It would be a lot better if I was there in class with you to work through this, but Google Earth isn't so bad. We can learn it pretty quickly. And it's a free software that's available to everyone. If you're using your own laptop, you can download it. If you're not using your own laptop, you can head to the library. It's warm there, and you can access Google Earth there. The file here called the KMZ file is a file that directly gets imported into Google Earth. So let's take a look at first Google Earth and make sure that you have it installed. What you can do is just go out to Google and type Google Earth. When you do that, Your first link is for Google Earth. You can download that computer program free. It's going to work best on a laptop. You can put it on an iPad or a Surface or another tablet-like device. So feel free to experiment with that. We will be using some of the more high-end features within Google Earth, like the topographic profiles. And for that reason, the laptops are maybe just a little bit better than the tablet. But whatever you choose to do is fine. Again, it's available in the library computers and all of the other computer labs as well. Once you have it downloaded, if you're not sure where it is, just go ahead and on a search, type Google Earth. So there's my app. It should look like a kind of a modified image of a globe. You can open it up. And to start with, you just have a nice little image of the Earth, and you can scroll around and twist and turn. I assume the interface will be comfortable for most of you, zooming in, zooming out. It's kind of similar to Google Maps, only in a more 3 or even actually 4-dimensional perspective. You can actually go between the Earth, the sky, Mars, and the moon. We won't be doing that in our class. We'll just stick to Earth. We have a lot to learn on Earth. If you have never done so, probably start with Googling your hometown. Good place to start. Always kind of fun. You'll zoom in and you'll get the most recent image that has good resolution. We can zoom in here on campus. You can change the perspective. You can tilt. Tilting will allow you to see dimensions. You can change vertical exaggerations and things like that, but I don't know how well it comes through, but these are little hills or ridges. I don't have my vertical exaggeration super high. You can change all of that through tools and options. I should point out I'm running just a slightly older view or version of Google Earth, but everything should be pretty similar. You can change your units if you prefer to work in meters or feet. I have mine set to metric. You might want to do that just for fun. Just push yourself a little bit in metric. Some of these things I wouldn't recommend changing. We'll do a little bit with lat long. With some of our activities, it's not a big deal today. But you can change that vertical exaggeration. So I have mine set fairly low. You could put it up in order to see the relief around here even more dramatic. So now those hills show up even a little bit better. Let's see here. Again, we can twist things around. You might always want to keep in mind where north is at, because I often use cardinal reference to point things out. So I might ask you a question, which direction is this glacier flowing? And you're going to want to make sure that you keep track of where north is at. Again, you can always change your orientation that you're viewing at, whether it's top down or oblique. So I'm going to get more of a top down. Here is the new Falcon Center that you can see. But the Falcon Center is pretty brand new, so what does it look like in the past? One of the great features of Google Earth, in fact, I published an article on how this is useful in geomorphology, is that we can go back and we can look at historical imagery. So I clicked on the little clock button, and now I can go backwards in time. So this image, there's a little image date down at the bottom. It says it's from just this last May. You can also see your lat long. It will move with your cursor. Another one to keep in mind is your elevation. You'll be using that in this activity. So the elevation of the center of the football field is 279 meters. If we go out to let's go to the softball field. Oh, it's the same. It's pretty flat surface. Most of you probably know that. If we go down to the South Fork of the Kinney, it should be a little bit lower. Looks like about 268. Okay, so wherever your cursor is at, that's going to be your elevation. Your eye altitude is just how far you are zoomed in or zoomed out. Now going back to historical imagery, you can just use the arrows or drag to get older imagery. This one goes all the way back to 1992, so you can see what campus looked like in 1992. You can go forward in time. You'll get some winter images, some summer images. Looks like a lot of these are summer. You can see that the Falcon Center is not there. There's a nice winter image. In fact, this is a very clear image for much of this area. This is a nice one that we'll be using quite a bit. No Falcon Center, no Falcon Center. Keep going forward in time. And there's the Falcon Center. We don't see anything of the construction happening, but we did see that major feature added. So that's probably enough for a basics of navigation. The next thing that you're going to need to know is how do you use Google Earth for your activities. So we're going to go back to our course module on Canvas. There's a handout that I definitely want you to take a look at. This is going to be the handout that's going to guide you through the activity. Again, I'll bring paper copies on Thursday, but here you've got some classification of glaciers. So we're going to be learning about what a glacier is, constrained, unconstrained, a few terms for different types of glaciers. That handout is going to be helpful. Let's go back to Canvas because the real heart and soul of the entire activity is to complete the assignment. So let's grab the assignment because that's what's going to guide you through the experience. So the assignment is out here called Glacier Formation and Classification Google Earth. All assignments will have deadlines and points associated with them, so that's how you can know that's an assignment. I might modify this and put the word assignment in front of it just so that it's even more clear. But you can go ahead and click on it. And then what you're going to want to do for right now is you're going to want to print this one out because this is what you're going to have to hand in. So I apologize for that, but with everybody off campus, you're just going to have to print this one out this time. In the future, obviously, I'll be bringing all the assignments to class with me. But every assignment will have a description at the beginning for what you're going to do. Another important note, you can always work with a partner. I have no issues with that whatsoever, and I would encourage it. Let's see here. So in this activity, you're going to be using Google Earth to look at how glaciers are classified. Download the Glaciated Landscapes KMZ file from Canvas. We'll do that in just a second. In several cases, you're going to be making measurements. Okay, I've already showed you how to do the tools and options, and I'll even show you how to make some measurements. The activity is going to be a combination of using Google Earth and using other resources like your textbook, but the activity will walk you through navigate to place mark so and so. So let's go back to Canvas and grab that KMZ file. KMZ files are just a little bit weird to work with because they only work in Google Earth. That is a language that file can only be read in. So it stands for Keyhole Markup Language. So go ahead and click on it, and then what I recommend that you do is save that file to a place where you can remember it. So I always just save it, copy it, and I usually put these things on my desktop because it's way easier for me to come back and find them later. So I'm going to paste that file on my desktop, and then I'm going to go into Google Earth. So this is where we left off with Google Earth. I'm going to open that file. I put it on my desktop, and there it is. Okay, it has opened it. Now within Places, I can see components that were provided in that file. So there's the Glaciated Landscapes file. In it is a series of place marks to help guide you through the experience. So at this point, we're set to go. Okay, here's our assignment. Now what we can do is simply just follow through the prompts that are provided in the questions. So the first one says navigate to place mark Switzerland Alps 1. So let's go back and we'll navigate to Swiss Alps 1. The way that you do that is double click on the place mark provided. It's going to fly you right there. Cool experience. You can see some other stuff in the background. These are publicly provided layers. I recommend turning those off, so I'm toggling those off on the bottom. And what I might want to do is activate that place mark by clicking the check mark, and now I can see it. Okay, I can zoom. I just turned off historical imagery. I can zoom in and I can zoom out, and what do I see is a very beautiful view of some glaciers in the Swiss Alps. So you can see this glacier right here coming out of this valley, forming up in these mountains. Now I can go back to the assignment and it says, okay, on page 334 of your textbook, it states 2 requirements must be met for a body of ice to be classified as a glacier. What are they? Now, here's a question. Can Placemark Switzerland Alps 1 be classified as a glacier? Okay, answer it yes or no based on your answer to the previous part. Then you're going to navigate to Switzerland Alps 2. Then you're going to go to the Himalayan glacier. Let's navigate to one of those. We'll click on it. We'll navigate. In some cases, I've provided you an extent pathway so you can see the extent of that glacier. I'm toggling that on and off. That's just to help focus to make sure that you're thinking and looking at the right things. So those are there. This one asks you to grab an elevation so you can take a look at your elevations going up the glacier. I don't want to spoil the fun, but you can figure out what elevation you need to capture. Again, you can always zoom in and zoom out as well. Going back to the assignment, so you're going to be learning about something called the snow line there. Then some more textbook work, and then at the bottom you're going to classify all these glaciers based on the handout that's provided. Again, for many or nearly all of them, I've given you an outline so you know what you're classifying, because it would be easy to over zoom in or zoom out. So here's Iceland, and I want you to classify this entire thing in red. So whole thing. On the bottom are a couple of questions about Antarctica, one of which, number 4, asks you for a measurement. So we'll head to number 4. Okay, we're going to be zooming in on a particular feature, so we're going to have to really zoom in so we can make a measurement. I'm zooming in on this big feature right here, and it asks us to make a measurement. There's a ruler right here. You can switch between miles, meters, feet. Again, I recommend metric as much as you can, and you can make a measurement. That thing is 2,751 meters along its long axis. Okay, so that's the assignment, and what I would like you to accomplish before class on Thursday. You are very welcome to stop by my office for getting answers to any questions that you might have. I'll be around today. I'll also be around tomorrow, Wednesday. Even though classes are closed, the university is still open, so I'll be around. And then I would be around before class on Thursday as well. So do your very best to work through this. I know it's not the most ideal circumstances, but it's really going to help us hit the ground running for the semester. So best wishes, and I look forward to meeting you on Thursday.